everyone, Comic Reviewer here, this time reviewing on the film Mad Max. Now, as you know, the film Mad Max is meant to be a dystopian action film that was directed by George Miller that would start off the Mad Max franchise with Mad Max 2 in 1981, Beyond Thunderdome 1985, and Fury Road in 2015. And the premise of the film is meant to take place in a near future dystopian Australia area where things have been broken down and due to things like oil, power and other shortages have been leaked down. And we kind of see how the Knight Rider and his girlfriend are able to escape in a sort of police-like vehicle. And we see how after one by one the police officers tend to try and catch him but fail. We see how Max rocks and Sticky tries to catch them, only to end up with both of him, the Knight Rider, and his girlfriend getting killed. And we kind of see how Max tries to kind of still be there for his family, and we see how the police still see him as his ace card, still trying to bribe and manipulate him. But we do kind of see how the Knight Rider's bike crew, led by the Toe Cutter, tries to kind of cause havoc through Max's neighborhood town. And over the course of the film, we see how Max tries to kind of avoid any problems, leading to the Toe Cutter and his gang to cause trouble for Max and his family, leading to Max to kind of go all out when something happens to his wife and child. And I would say the message of the story is, even though you might have that one thing that's good to you, someone will always take it by force, and that sometimes you might end up becoming a shell of your former self, leading you to become more not what you used to be, but at the same time trying to set what you think is right. And I think the point of the Max with his family was meant to help him set up a good example and try and be there for his family. And I think the point of the Toe Cutter and his gang are meant to try and push Max to his breaking point, which he slowly becomes. As I think before Max's family's death, you do see how Max tries to set a good example, but after his family's death, we see him knowing that all gloves are off and that he's going to go on full vengeance mode. And even before the Toe Cutter and his gang arrived, we know that things like crime, also civil disputes, and poverty problems were always going to come before the bigger event arrives. And before the second and third film, you know that some of the police force were still trying to salvage what they could, and it was this kind of clear that Max was still trying to be positive to his family, even though it was always going to come with a dangerous and deadly price. And I think what Mel Gibson gets right at, he still tries to play this supporting role to his family, and after something that happens to them, he ends up becoming a shell and kind of becoming a more darker version of himself. And I think it's heavily implied that the Toe Cutter, who's played by Hugh Case Bryan, is meant to be the future Mad Max villain in basically Fury Road. So implying that Immortan Joe is the Toe Cutter, but kept on his own life support. And it's kind of implied that his story is a fabrication. And I kind of think, yeah, the point of Max at the start was meant to be a guy who wanted to do the right things, but after his wife and child's death, ended up becoming a shell of his former self and becoming a worse version of himself. As sometimes you want to do the right things, but sometimes people and their actions turn you into something they're not. And even before the events of the second and third film was meant to turn Max into something far worse. As before things got worse, you could tell the police were on their last knees with the last remaining law enforcement, and you can tell even beforehand people were trying to scrape by to what they can. And I think the film Mad Max shows you the early points before things got a lot worse. And I think the point of Max going into a sort of darker, more bleaker world was him finally reaching his breaking point. So I think this film definitely deserves a thumbs up. Still good and still alright. So, Comic Reviewer here, signing out.